Namaste. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll discuss about transport of oxygen in blood. I have also made videos on breathing and exchange of gases, and the link is in the description box. If you want, you can go through it. So now let's start with our topic. Transport of gases. Blood transports oxygen and carbon dioxide. First, we'll discuss about the transport of oxygen in the blood. Blood carries oxygen from the lungs to the heart and from the heart to various parts of the body. Oxygen is transmitted in two manners. First, it is transported as dissolved gas, and it is also transported as oxyhemoglobin. First, as dissolved gas. About 3% of oxygen in the blood is dissolved in plasma. Here you can see it is transported through blood plasma, which is in gas state, which carries oxygen to the body cells. And as oxyhemoglobin, which is about 97% of oxygen is carried in combination with hemoglobin of the erythrocytes. Hemoglobin consists of protein portion, which is called as globin, and a pigment portion called as heme. The heme portion contains 4 atoms of iron, each capable of combining with a molecule of oxygen. Oxygen and hemoglobin combines in an easily reversible reaction to form oxyhemoglobin. Here you can see when oxygen and hemoglobin combines, it forms a compound called oxyhemoglobin. It is then transported into the heart. Under high partial pressure, oxygen easily binds with hemoglobin in the pulmonary blood capillaries, which is in lungs. When this oxygenated blood reaches the different tissues, the partial pressure of oxygen declines and the bonds holding oxygen to hemoglobin becomes unstable. As a result, oxygen is released from blood capillaries. Here, when it is transported from heart to other tissue cells, the oxyhemoglobin, they dissociate and dissolved oxygen is released out. If you want to know the exchange of gases, I have made a video earlier and the link will be in the description box. You can surely watch it. Now we will see an overview of how much oxygen is transported to the tissues by blood. A normal persons have about 15 grams of hemoglobin per 100 ml of blood. 1 gram hemoglobin binds about 1.34 ml of O2. Thus, on an average, 100 ml of blood carries about 20 ml of oxygen. Hence, under normal conditions, about 5 ml of oxygen is transported to tissues by 100 ml of blood. During exercise or strenuous conditions, the muscle cells consume more oxygen. The partial pressure of oxygen in tissues fall, as a result of which the blood at the tissue level has only 4.4 ml of oxygen per 100 ml of blood. Thus, about 15 ml of oxygen is transported by hemoglobin during exercise. So, it is recommended that one should exercise every day in order to keep body healthy. Now, we will discuss about the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. The amount of oxygen that can bind with hemoglobin is determined by oxygen tension. This is expressed as a partial pressure of oxygen, PO2. The percentage of hemoglobin that is bound with O2 is called as percentage saturation of hemoglobin. इसका मतलब है जो percentage of hemoglobin, amount of hemoglobin which can bind with O2 is known as the percentage saturation. The relationship between partial pressure of oxygen, which is PO2, and the percentage of saturation of hemoglobin with oxygen is graphically illustrated by a curve called oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve, also called as oxygen dissociation curve. Here you can see this is the oxygen dissociation curve. So, now we will learn how it differs. Under normal conditions, the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve is sigmoid shape, which is S-shaped. Here you can see this is the sigmoid shape. The lower part of the curve indicates the dissociation of oxygen from hemoglobin. The upper part of the curve indicates the acceptance of oxygen by hemoglobin, means the saturation of hemoglobin. When the partial pressure of oxygen is 25 mm, here this is 25 mm, then the hemoglobin which gets saturated is about 50% here. It means blood contains 50% of oxygen. The partial pressure at which hemoglobin saturation is 50% is the P50. Here this is the P50. At 40 mm Hg of partial pressure of oxygen, which is this one 40, the saturation is about 75%, you can see it. It becomes 95% when the partial pressure of oxygen is 100. This is 95. There are factors which affect oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. The oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve is shifted either right or left by various factors. First we will see why it shifts to right. Shift to right indicates dissociation of oxygen from hemoglobin. The oxyhemoglobin curve is shifted to right in the following conditions. Decrease in partial pressure of oxygen. When the partial pressure of oxygen decreases, there is a shift in right side of the curve. And when there is an increase in partial pressure of carbon dioxide, which is Bohr's effect, we will read it in detail later. Increase in hydrogen ion concentration and decrease in pH. And decrease in pH means increase like acidity, increasing the acidity in the blood. Increase body temperature. If the body temperature rises, then the curve shifts to right. Excess of 2,3-diphosphate glycerate. It is the byproduct of glycolysis and it is present in RBCs. Now we will see why it shifts to left. Shift to left indicates acceptance or association of oxygen by hemoglobin. And the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve is shifted to left in the following conditions. In the fetal blood, because fetal hemoglobin has more affinity for oxygen than adult hemoglobin. When we in fetus, the oxygen affinity is more, so it shifts upward. And in low temperature and high pH means basic environment. Now we will learn about the Bohr effect in detail. Bohr effect is a physiological phenomenon first described in 1904 by the Danish physiologist Christian Bohr. Hemoglobin's O2 binding affinity is inversely related both to acidity and the concentration of CO2. That is, the Bohr effect refers to the shift in O2 dissociation curve caused by changes in the concentration of CO2 and pH of the environment. Since CO2 reacts with water to form carbonic acid, an increase in CO2 results in decrease in blood pH, resulting in hemoglobin proteins releasing their load of O2. Conversely, a decrease in CO2 provokes an increase in pH, which results in hemoglobin picking up more O2. Here you can see higher O2 and lower pH, and when lower O2 there is higher pH, and all this is caused due to the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen. There are few factors which influence the affinity of hemoglobin for O2, and they are the partial pressure of CO2. Increase in CO2 shifts the curve to the pH, and concentration of 2,3 dpg, presence of unusual hemoglobin species, and temperature. In this graph you can understand the Bohr effect curves. So this was all about the transport of oxygen in the blood. In the next video I will discuss about the transport of carbon dioxide. If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to hit the bell icon. Thank you.